like to answer points made by Stuart and by Tony and Rob concerning the terms of our coalition. I'm sure there's disagreements even within the cabinet on issues. I don't think they all sit down and say, yeah, we'll be debating, so we'll be debating on our side. How we go forward. And from what I gather, if you read the spending review, there's a committee been set up under Hague that basically considers good ideas from both sides. I think that's something that we should also have to bear in mind, that some of us who aren't in the Labour Party also have some good ideas that maybe should be considered. Because in terms of fighting the cuts in the council chamber, I don't subscribe to this view, and we've had a debate in the People Against Cuts around this issue. A single council, even if it was full of people like me and you, Tony, you've got a man on its own, is not going to stop the votes, even if we all said we were going to prison. I'm perfectly prepared to go to prison personally, but I have to ask people who put demands that Labour councils get themselves surcharged what they're prepared to do, because at the same time as we're getting trade unionists up saying they should defy the law, aren't even prepared to defy the law on issues affecting themselves. They aren't prepared to defy the law over the trade union laws. Instead, we're campaigning to repeal them. We're not saying TUC, defy the law. We aren't saying it. So why are suddenly we singling out Labour councillors to do it? I mean, I'm not against that strategy of Labour councils doing something more than they're doing. However, I don't think they can do it in isolation. If I was a councillor on Wigan Council, I'd be suggesting maybe all opposition councils should at least, the very least, be having a meeting nationally and discuss what it is they can do collectively together. Because I would suggest there's a lot more that they can do collectively together, even if it's only limited, than any individual council, however defiant it wants to be. Because if you look at the examples where individual councils have made a stand, like Poplar, like Vauxhall, I think, like Claycross, like Liverpool, one thing there's the same thing that goes with them is the word defeat. And I've been in enough defeats to not want to get in anymore. And I said, you've got to plan things to do it collectively across the country. One or two councils, that's why we haven't demanded Wigan Council follow the heroic militant line in Liverpool. What we've said is there's things they can do that they're not doing. But I think they could be doing, they could be passing a resolution condemning these cuts. They could be alerting the public to the impact of these cuts and explaining their situation within it. They're not doing that now. I suggest they could be doing that. Does involve them going to prison or getting surcharged. It's just a basic resolution and alerting the public. They need to be up in the ante about the impact of these cuts, like this meetings, trying to do here today. It's massive attacks facing us collectively, not just from local authority, directly from the state that we need to respond to. Now, what type of things should we, what should be the terms of our coalition? I think we have to have an alternative. This idea, I think we've got to reject this idea that cuts, we need these cuts, because we don't need these cuts. As the PCS have pointed out, current budget deficit is 149 billion projected to be for this financial year, and they're trying to bring it down every subsequent year. 120 billion of it, so that's nearly, 80% of it, could be plugged just off what the PCS has suggested. And if you think about, raised corporation tax, which I'm told if we put it back to the EU average would raise 46 billion, you've already plugged the gap, and that's where all host of other suggestions like Robin Hood tax, which has been suggested, a tax on the transactions of the bankers, the people who got us into this mess in the first place, and who really should be being made pay. Because what this, our coalition, their coalition is about making everybody else other than the bankers and the people who got us into the mess that we're in pay. But we said we want to coalition stand up for ordinary folks. Said, no, make these people pay for it. I mean, the biggest insult, of course, is the 2.4 billion bank levy, which the banks are supposed to be paying towards. This cost us, estimate, 850 billion to bail them out. Doesn't even cover the interest on the money we borrowed. It's an absolute outrage. And if you look, if you add it up, I would say most of the current debt that we've got is entirely as a result of that. The impact of the banks collapsing would take nearly 400 years to pay off. I mean, it's a complete, utter insult to let the bankers off in this way. So, I reject this idea that we need any cuts, and I also reject the idea, and I think PAC does, that we should have to pay this total debt back straight away. You know, Labour government in 1945 didn't. It had 238%, it was estimated GDP there, and yet it borrowed more money. That's what we should be doing, to do exactly what you suggested in relation to climate change, because we're talking about cuts here, right, but actually an even bigger catastrophic thing that's going to affect us is potentially the effect of climate change. Even Prince Charles is saying, you know, we don't act decisively within, I think it's now down to about 84 months, we might get to a tipping point and there's nothing we can do about it, and we won't be really hammered. So we, you know, I think we should be investing more money in them types of jobs. Now, in terms of practical here, you know, I think we need to be, you know, trying to get together and talk about building a movement that says, ultimately, the only way we're going to stop these cuts is getting rid of the government. And we need to be working together and getting that message over, alerting to people to the lies that this government are peddling, because there's no alternatives, it's fair, and, you know, there's no other way, and we're all in it together. I think we've got to answer them, and we need to be discussing that, how are we going to go about it, we need to build a meeting, or organise a rally, agree something in the town centre, or what. You know, I think that's practically the things I think we need to address, and we can carry on all these debates, and, you know, at future meetings as well.
I think it would be very helpful if we could focus on Atherton. This is where I live, yeah? Because I think that we need to make sure that we engage the people of Atherton. To do that, we need an organisation that's local to us, which we can use. I'm interested in the people who live in Atherton having some mechanism of defence against government cuts. I'm not interested in any other discussion than that, because it doesn't seem relevant to me. Yeah? When the queues of people who are turning up saying my day centre's closed, or this is closed, or that is closed, we need to be able to respond. To be able to respond, we need to exist.
Basically, what I'd like to say is what Julie says, I agree with her. They can only deal with the money they've got. But one of the big problems that Wigan Council has is communication with their voters. It's like a secret society. Nobody knows what's going on. All they get is when it happens. What I'm trying to say is, if the Labour Council in Wigan want support of the electorate of Wigan, they need to communicate with them what this government down in Whitehall are doing to them. And everybody living in council houses, one-bedroom flats, disabled people, about what they've done. They've cut, what's the...
Shop mobility.
Shop mobility. They've stopped the funding to it. And then they're going mad, them people in Wigan, the disabled. They don't know what to do. They came to PAC for help, right? And that's because there's lack of communication. The council should have gone down and spoke to these people and should have had a chat with them and see what the score is. They'll not get any kind of credit for cutting the most vulnerable. In a sense, in some ways, it reflects the bloody Whitehall government that we've got. They've got to learn where their base is. And I disagree with Herman because you in Atherton are part of Wigan. You just can't cut yourself off from bloody Wigan. It's got to be all together. We all have to struggle together. If you form a pack in Atherton and a pack in Wigan, then there's no reason why we can't work together. And you've got other people like Salford. They want to form a pack. People in Rochdale want to form a pack. The people in Preston are forming a pack. Independent, grassroots organisations fighting the cuts. And people, I know the people of Atherton and all over Wigan and all the working people in the country lack confidence in themselves. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start fighting for our rights and what we've won over the years through struggle of our fathers and grandfathers.
And they know